All right. So pleasant good afternoon, everyone. Yes, today we'll be looking at the system which is associated with removal of waste and so on from the body itself. So that one would particularly in terms of excretion, we'll be looking at that one. I hope, as I was telling the rest of them, I hope nobody got too much wetting. And notwithstanding the wetting, usually when rain falls, how the atmosphere is be clear. I don't know if you're looking outside, but it's still kind of hazy. What do you think causing that haze? One out of two things it could be causing that haze. Anybody wants to hazard a guess? Why is it hazy outside? Well, it could be one. It could be Sahara dust, according to Segoni Mohammed from TV6 News, as well as within the current parameters, we're well aware in terms of the sulfur eruption in St. Vincent. So it could be both of those in terms of dust from the sulfur or Sahara dust, both of them. Regardless, notwithstanding the fact that it is mandatory you wear a mask, but that would be important, particularly now, notwithstanding the threat of COVID, but because of the fact it has dust in the air. Yeah. All right. So excretion. Is excretion important? Selena, what do you think? Is excretion important?
Yes.
What would happen if the body was not able to secrete its waste or get rid of its waste? What would happen?
You'll get sick.
You'll get sick. And in particular, when you're looking at lesions or cuts on the body, when you can't remove waste effectively, what happens? There's one word which is a bad word for everybody in the medical field. It begins with I. When you can't get rid of waste or when you can't.
Inflection.
Oh yes, always
Inflection.
remember that. That's a bad word, right? I think I mentioned it to you all. When you look at the US, the Civil War in America, more people died from infection than actually died on the battlefield itself. That was before they properly understood antibiotics, right? So before the advent of antibiotics in particular, but they weren't too clear on the concept of infection and the transmissal of infectious material from one person to the next and why it's important to keep clean, particularly, let's say, if you're looking at somebody with a wound and think they didn't quite understand that. So infection was rampant and more people died from infection. So always remember that. That's a bad word in the medicals. When you hear infection, you run from it, right? Or you try to minimize it when you do address it. You always try to minimize infection. Let's look at the questions as it relates to excretion. Okay, what does excretion rid the body of?
Cellular metabolic waste.
The waste, right? So it's waste product, as we mentioned that. It wouldn't rid the body of food per se. Some people might argue, yes, it could do it because if the food is digested, but in the raw state, if you're taking food, let's say, it will not just be excreted, in the same form, notwithstanding, in fact, let's say you chew it up, right? You would always have extraction of things from it. So, but excretion, it really rids the body of of cellular metabolic waste, right? So metabolism, that's the breakdown of food. And in terms of the waste product, you have two ways of secreting it. You have liquid expulsion in terms of waste, and then you also have solid waste. So how are those two things gotten rid of? In terms of liquid waste, first of all, how does the body get rid of liquid waste?
Urine.
Urine is one way. Good. Remind me of your name. Let me. It's Wednesday. Let me keep track of that. All right. So who answered there?
Susanna.
Susanna with an S. Right. Yeah. So you have urine. That's one way. Anywhere else in terms of getting rid of waste?
Sweat.
Sweat. That's another liquid waste. Yes.
And feces.
Feces. All right. Who answered feces there? Ravina. Yeah. So feces, that's another way in terms of waste product that has gotten rid of from the body itself. Right, so that is very important to take note of. Let's look at number 2. What are the organs of excretion in the body? What they really should have, there's a vague question, they should have really put the major organ of excretion.
Yeah, the
Which
major
one?
is kidney.
It's
Yeah.
kidneys.
Kidneys, right? So who answered kidneys there?
Ravina.
Ravina, and somebody else was in the background.
Kamal.
Kamal. Hey, hello, Kamal.
Hello, sir.
Right. So you do have kidneys, right? But we also have other ones as well. As shown. The skin. What waste product does the skin excrete?
Sweat.
Sweat.
Sweat. Yeah, that's sweat. What about the lungs? What waste product does it excrete?
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide, very good. Does the liver excrete any waste? Well, it breaks down things and then they are secreted ultimately either in the feces or in the urine. Well, right? So all of those, but they should really put the major organ of excretion is really the kidneys. And how many kidneys do we have?
Yeah.
Okay, let me rephrase that question.
Does
In
he
a
have a
normal
penis?
individuals, right? We have 2 kidneys. Could you live with 1 kidney?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you could. You could. Actually, you could. Right? So you don't need it. So then the question is, if you could live with 2, why? If you could live with 1, why do you have 2? Give me one word. It begins with B.
Backup.
Backup. Always remember that. Very good. Who say backup there?
Diane.
Diane. Very good. So always remember that whole concept of backup. Is Diane Archibald or Katwaru?
Katwaru.
Okay, good. Very good. All right. So this whole concept of backup is very important. Could you think of any other organ in which you have pairs in the body? You have 2 of them.
Lungs.
One more time. Your lungs. All right. Who answered that one?
Kamal.
Kamal. Good. Right. You have 2 lungs. Could you live with 1 lung?
I know a patient who does.
Yeah. And in fact, if you want to look in terms of celebrity, somebody world renowned, the current Pope, he's both a religious leader and a leader of a country, Vatican City. So he's both. He has dual roles in terms of leader of the Catholic Church and also leader of Rome. But when he was young, he had infection in his lung. And actually, most of his lung had to be removed. So one is virtually non-functional. So that's one example. The current Pope, right? He has 1 lung. Yeah.
The article you put on the classroom with the person from Canada too. He had a lung transplant.
Correct. You read it. Yes. So, and that is the major reason why. Yeah. So your body is always remember that it's a very efficient machine. And that is why you have 2 of them. So let me ask you this. Why does it don't have 2 livers? Or, why does it don't have 2 livers?
I said that the liver is rebuilt like something like that.
Right. It is regenerating. Very good. The liver is one of the few organs that has the ability to regenerate. So if it is, yes, that the cells do die, they regenerate. But there's another R word associated with organs like the liver, in terms of the cells in particular. So when you look at the cells within the liver, the hepatocytes, do they all do the same thing, or depending on what part of the liver you go, you have different cells doing different functions? What do you think? What say you? Yeah. You could just make a guess.
Different functions.
Different functions, okay, right? Anybody else? Well, obviously, the other thing would be all of them doing the same. Now, which one do you think would be more efficient? 1, if you had all the cells doing the same thing, or 2, if you have certain parts of the liver being specialized. Which one do you think is more efficient and why?
Specialize.
Specialized. Why do you say specialized is more efficient?
Because you'll be able to do or do things simultaneously at the same time or something.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I do think so, sir.
Okay, what do you think?
I think we remember your liver is 1 organ, right? Now, if you have specialized parts of the liver, let's say for instance, part of that liver I know you could do liver surgery and take out half and transfer half. That's what the liver bypass. But let me say for the specialized part, now, according to the genetic code or whatever, you couldn't take out that specific part from the person. It would create a lot of problems medically. So I do think having specialized parts of the liver would be better.
Okay, so right, so we had two opposing theories. Let me just get the persons who actually make those. Let me take you all down. So who answered just now? That's Kamal again.
Yeah.
And
Kamal,
Susanna.
right, and Susanna and somebody else.
Ravina.
Susanna, George, and Rabina. Okay, see that again. All right, so let me put it in a different way. So let's say now, think about it like, the liver is like a set of workers, right? So the cells are a set of workers. So which one would be, and imagine you are the boss, right? You running a company, so you have all these workers there. Which would be more efficient if everybody could do in terms of if something goes wrong. Let's get it from that perspective. If something goes wrong, what would be better? If everybody knows everybody else's job, or if you have specialists, which one would be more efficient in terms of bringing you back if something goes wrong?
If everybody knows each other.
Everybody does
everybody knows
everything.
everybody's
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's exactly, with the liver, that's exactly what happens. All these cells, they do exactly the same thing. So you don't have specialization. I know what you're all thinking in terms of specialization. You're all thinking particularly in terms of, let's say, the assembly line, in terms of efficiency in that regard. But the thing is, all these cells, they're able to do, all of them do the exact same thing. So from that perspective, in terms of efficiency, if something goes wrong with the liver, not a problem. In fact, you could lose about up to roughly between 50 and 60% of your liver cells, either through, as you know, some people who have the disease, alcoholism is really a disease, right? So you could get cirrhosis of the liver and that destroys the cells and they don't regenerate. So you could lose about up to 50 to 60% and the liver will still work. It will not show any significant outward signs of any ailment. So the good thing is, so that's one of the reasons why. So, even those cells who, let's say, not functioning, those cells that are lost, well, the others could just, well, not a problem, we know what to do. And they would just keep doing the job because all of them could do the same thing. So you could lose some. So that is one means of efficiency, right? So that is something unique to the liver itself in terms of that fact. And as mentioned by Miss Ketwaru, or was it, let me see, it was Ravina, that said that, the liver is unique. It could regenerate, but up to a point, right? When you do start to get cirrhosis of the liver, the cells don't regenerate anymore. But yes, you do have regeneration. The liver is unique in that regard. Does the heart regenerate? The cells of the heart, do they regenerate? And the answer is?
No.
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 They don't.
But they could,
Go
I
ahead.
think
They
that they
could
could make new
branch.
connections. So,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
if a
they could
part is
branch.
Connections?
blocked.
If a part is
Yeah.
blocked?
Yeah.
I wonder, is that the brain? That sounds like the brain. I wonder
No,
if
not
the heart,
even.
not the brain, no. Okay, the heart is, in terms of bypass, okay, I understand that you could bypass an area that is, let's say,
Yeah.
disease or something like that. Okay, all
Yeah.
right, all right. I know most definitely in terms of neurons, when you look at the brain, in terms of making connections, that could happen. You can make new connections. And in fact, is in your brain, they still don't fully understand how the brain works. I'll give you an example. With up to the age of about 7, if something goes wrong significantly with one of your cerebral hemispheres, it is so incredible. Those things associated with one half could be shifted to the other half. So it comes like the half that is not affected, that does double work. It will take over the work of the other half. It is absolutely incredible. And they don't understand how it's done, but it's done automatically. And they found this out because, persons who have, let's say, injuries or certain people who have seizures, they used to perform a type of operation known as a hemispherectomy, where they take out part of the lobe of the brain. And that's how, amazingly, the functions just used to shift to the other half of the brain automatically. So it's very true as it relates to neurons and nerves in terms of that shift if something does go wrong. So when you think about it, your body is really a fascinating machine. Let's go to the next question. So this one, excretion rids the body of cellular waste. We say the main organ of excretion is the kidneys. Excretion refers to the elimination of feces from the body. Is that true or false?
False.
All right. All right. Those who say false, give me a reason why. Why you say false?
Feces is just one of the way of
Very
one
good.
of the way alone. Yeah.
right? Because you have other things, as we mentioned before, carbon dioxide from the lungs, you have sweat from your skin, right? So those are two examples there. Okay, name please.
Ravina.
Ravina, okay, very good, Ravina. You're answering questions, good. All right, so that's why it's false, because not only does it refer to the elimination of feces, but it refers to the elimination of other things as well from the body itself, carbon dioxide in particular, and sweat, which is water, and of course you do lose some salts as well. All right, number 4, we don't really have to do that, it's not on the syllabus. Let's look at 5. In humans, the liver does what? Let me hear some new voices. Let me hear some new voices. All due respect to everybody who have been answering. Let me hear some new voices. In humans, what does the liver do?
See,
It converts ammonia to urea, and that is very true. That's the main function of the liver. Who's that answer there?
Diana Archibald.
Diana Archibald. T. Very good, Diana. Diana, yes. Right? So that's what it does. It converts ammonia to urea. Now, is it a problem if ammonia, if you don't have the breakdown of ammonia to urea? If ammonia accumulates in the body, what would happen? Dot, 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 dot. It will kill you.
It will die.
It will die. Yeah, that's a big problem, right? It's a big problem. So it does break it down to urea, and that is excreted in the urine, right? So it's very important to break it down. But ammonia in and of itself is a lot more toxic, let's say, than urea. Urea is a lot less toxic than ammonia when it is accumulating in any volumes in the body itself. So very good there. Let's go to another one. Let's look at question 7. Crystals of uric acid sometimes collect in the joints, producing something painful called gout. Is that true?
That is
Yes,
true.
that is very true.
What is gout? They used to call it the disease of the rich. Yes?
Of the rich, sir?
Yeah, because of the fact is when you see uric acid is formed from the breakdown of proteins. So if you have a diet, back in the day, if you have a diet rich in proteins, people don't used to eat all that much proteins. In fact, if you talk to your grandparents, or if you have older parents or older ones, relatives, they used to tell you, when I used to talk with my parents and so on, they would tell me that how, and my grandmother, for instance, on Sundays, that was the only day they eat meat. You know, so they used to look forward. Other than that, they would eat meat, but in the form of, let's say, some, like, other than, let's say, meat, they would do saltfish and smoke herring during the course of the week. That was it, let me say, for 2 days. But other than that, they didn't used to eat meat. Meat, as we know it, let's say chicken or beef or what have you not, that was reserved for Sunday. So Sunday was a big day. What? We gotta eat meat. Of course, sometimes that probably didn't always used to happen, right? But specifically on Sundays, Sundays was meat day, right? So for persons now who eaten meat on a regular basis, right, you had to have the coinage to do it, and that was something reserved to wealthy people. So let me see.
So you think gout is genetic? It could be like hereditary.
Of course, you know, to me, you could always could find it. Right? Let me see if I have it. The disease of the rich, I'm not seeing it. Gout is painful. Gout is a purine by too much uric acid, anybody, and the crystals. Oh, about disease of the gout. But yes, in terms of having a genetic component, one could argue that virtually every disease has a genetic component to it, right? But some more so than others in terms of how it manifests itself. But, you know, some people are more than predisposed to getting a certain ailment. It is called the rich man's disease because foods such as wine, red meat, and other rich foods contribute to increased uric acid levels. All right, so that was why it was called, or it is called, the rich man's disease, because certain foods which they would consume in particular, right, it causes gout. All right, so this one, where is it? Excretion, this one is false, we mentioned that. And this one, crystals of uric acid, right, producing a painful ailment called gout. Now, don't confuse gout with things like when you're typing and you have your hand in a funny
Carpal
position.
tunnel syndrome.
Carpal tunnel syndrome, very good. Don't confuse it with that, or even arthritis, rheumatoid, or otherwise. Right, so this is something different in terms of, I wonder if let's have a look to see in terms of gout joints.
I think gout is more like an inflammation.
Yeah, that's what in my mind, that's why I have it. So that's why I wanted to pull it. So gout is in, ooh, look at this one. You know, this shows it dramatically. It's really inflamed, as you see, unusually so. Right, you have big, and this is because you have big accumulation of uric acid crystals. So it's something above and beyond, you know, just a normal swelling, but it's a distinctive bulge, as you could see. Right? Am I sharing my screen? Yes?
Yeah. So
Okay, so you all seen it. Okay, great. All right, so gout, and yes. Let's go forward again. Now, kidney functions, what do they include? Number 9. Does the kidney have anything to do with
All of the above.
all of the above? All right,
All
who
of the
answer
above.
first? Let me hear you. Who answer there?
Shady.
Sadie?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Miss Davis, good. Who else answered?
Ravina.
Ravina, thank you. Who else answered?
Rock.
Miss Rock. Izan?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh, right. Who else?
Come on.
Answer, but
Who that? Anybody else? No.
well, everybody answered, so I didn't bother to say anything.
Who's that? Well, you must still. Don't worry about everybody else. All right. Okay, don't mind that, huh? But yeah, but still answer in spite of everything. Sorry, you have a answer for number 8?
Yes, it is muscle metabolism.
In terms of creatinine or creatine, yeah, muscle, that is true. But the reason why I didn't go for it, this wasn't on the syllabus. But you're right, it is an end product of muscle metabolism, but you're quite right. And I'll give you credit for it. What name?
Daniel Ramuta.
Daniel. Very good, Daniel.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so back to the kidney function. Is it water and salt balance?
All of the above.
Yes. Let me ask you this. What there's some things that you take that make you want to urinate, diuresis, or pee, as we say. What is it? What makes you want? Is a special class of, well, from a pharmacological point, is a special.
Alkaline.
It's something called. It begins with a D.
Diuretic.
Very good. Yes, diuretics, right? So diuretics will make you want to urinate. Could you think of a common diuretic, particularly if you go to the club?
Oh, alcohol.
Thank you. What name?
Eleanor.
Eleanor, yes. Eleanor. No, only don't read into it. Eleanor, just know that from doing book work. So don't read any further into that.
Water does make you want to pee as well.
If you take beyond a certain amount, once you're quite true, right? If you take too much water, yes. And in fact, I do remember reading from in history, right? When you look at the Native American Indians in North America, if you want, and this is something you could work on as well. If you want to get up early in the morning, like 4 o'clock, you know, you do have a natural alarm clock, right? All you have to do before you go to bed, drink a lot of water. And believe you me, by 4 o'clock, your bladder will wake you up. Anybody ever try that? You know, sometimes you're thinking, well, I don't know if my clock or my watch will work. And you have
So sometimes I would just not drink any water at all in the night before I go to sleep to avoid that.
Yeah. But if it is quite true, but if it is, you know, for some odd reason, let's say you had to go, well, not now, but let's say you had to go to the airport, or, you know, you have some important thing you have to get up and finish at 4 o'clock. So you have to get up. A very easy way. Yes, you set your clocks and so on, but a nice way, drink like 2 glasses of water before you go to bed. And you will see at 4 o'clock, the alarm clock will ring and wake you up. So it's a nice way, actually, a natural way to wake yourself up. Drink water before you go to bed, and you will get up early, around 4 or 5 o'clock. Yeah. All right, so water and salt balance, we know that. And as your colleague mentioned, a diuretic is something that makes you urinate. Alcohol is a diuretic, right? Somebody, in one of my other classes, they were telling me that how, is there anything that you would drink a warm beer to cure? Anybody know?
Gout.
Kidney stone.
Kidney
Oh,
stone.
kidney stone. Yes.
So that there might be some. Now, why it is do you think drinking, let's say, a warm beer will help get rid of? Anybody have any thoughts how it will get rid of a kidney stone?
The yeast in it, I think they would say that.
Could be the yeast. Any other way, be tied to the fact of a diuretic, and how you can tie a diuretic to getting rid of a kidney stone.
Frequent urination will bring down the stone.
Yeah. Who is that to answer that? Kamal, yeah. And that's what it does. And who it is was telling me about yeast. I have to investigate that one. Could be Diana. Have to check that one in terms of the yeast specifically.
You see, those kind of diseases work like hand in hand, because when you drink too much alcohol, it will affect the gout.
Oh, gout, right. We're looking at kidney stone, in particular, to get rid of a kidney stone. So one of the things to get rid of a kidney stone is just by trying to flush it out. So taking things that would actually make you want to urinate or diuresis, cause diuresis or urination, that would help. So in that regard, I could see that how, drinking things containing alcohol. When alcoholic beverages are by nature, they're diuretics. They do make you want to urinate, which is why oftentimes you would see somebody, who has passed out, let's say, from drink, you will sometimes see a puddle or a pool of urine around them, because by nature, that's just what it does. Alcohol makes you want to urinate, right? So drinking, there might be some truth, drinking a warm carib or a warm beer, that causes diuresis to occur, and that passage of urine through the urine, depending on where the stone is, right? Sometimes it is lodged in that region, let's say, in the urethra, in the region of the prostate, somewhere right there. But that flushing, that constant passage of of urine, could lead to the flushing out of the stone, depending on its size, of course. Yeah? All right. Oh, I think, okay, I see what you were talking about with gout, in terms of how gout could lead then to the increase in the size of the stone. Most of those stones are calcium-based stones. So eating rich foods, would they have calcium? Meat, if it is you're chewing on the bone and so on. I could see that linkage as well. I see where you were going with that. Yes. Okay, let's go on. So it does that. Remove metabolic waste. Does the kidney do that? Remove metabolic waste? It surely does. Does it maintain acid-base balance? It surely does, in terms of moving of electrolytes. And I'll pull up a diagram just now to show you in terms of the removal of electrolytes. Hormone secretion. What is one of the more important hormones secreted by the kidney that is very important for the manufacture of red blood cells? So actually, when your red blood cell count goes low, your kidney secretes
erythropoietin.
What you saying? A nice way to remember it. What is the name of the hormone? What's another name for red blood cells?
Erythrocytes.
Erythrocytes. So therefore, the hormone is erythropoietin, right? And it secretes erythropoietin, which acts at the level of the stem cells in your bone marrow, causing, of course, the formation of red blood cells. And that's when your red blood cell count is low. Or if it is, your oxygen concentration is low, which is why if you go up on very high altitudes where the oxygen concentration is lower, your body detects that. So what it does, to extract more of that oxygen, it will cause the body to create or make more red blood cells, hematopoiesis. Right? It causes it to make more red blood cells. And that is how you're able to extract more of the oxygen. This is when we're talking, let's say you go very high. So for instance, in the US, Colorado, which is called the Mile High City, it's about a mile above sea level. If you go there, your body will begin to make more red blood cells. And of course, that will have to do with the fact that erythropoietin is being secreted by the kidney. Yes, somebody was going to say something. Go ahead. Yes.
So I was just going to say, well, I know I have a relative who now experiencing kidney disease, and that was one of the problems. He became anemic, and I didn't know why. And researching, I found out.
Yeah.
That's
good
why.
point. Good point. Yeah. So because of the fact that is no longer functioning, the kidney, right? Kidney disease is not functioning. So that key point in terms of producing erythropoietin, that's a very good. I'm glad you brought up that. Yeah, that is very true. Very true. Right. So the answer for this one would be all of the above. All right. Let's go to the next one. The urinary system consists of what?
All of the above.
All of the above.
All right. Who was the first one out of the Who was that one?
Everybody
The whole class.
The whole class. All right. I'll put a point for everybody. Okay. I don't go through the list now. Hold on. Give me a second. Everybody. Diana. I'll just put it down as it comes along. Diana. That was good. Archibald. Diane Katwaru. Yes. Rock. Miss Rock. Izan. Good. Alison Taylor. Good. Aviel Lomash, yes. Good. Selena Bash, good. Chelsea Mahez, good job. Dira Mutal, Danielle, Dahia, good. Diane Brewster, Eleanor, almost there, Kamal Mohammed, Kizzy, yes, Natasha Roberts, Ravina, Rishma, and Shady, Stephanie, and finally Susanna. Great. Is it Susanna or Suzanne?
Susanna.
Susanna. My bad. Okay, I have to adjust it here. Okay, great. Great job. Right, so very important in terms the urinary system consists of all of these. Let me ask this question. The ureter or the urethra? Which one empties the bladder? The ureter or the urethra?
Urethra. The urethra.
Now, it's it is very easy to mix up the two, right? The ureter comes from the kidneys, it goes to the bladder, and the urethra empties it. Could anybody think of a way that you will not mix up those two so that you'll know the ureter, how you wouldn't mix up the ureter and the urethra, and you know exactly where they are?
RA could be recognized because extract is EXTRACT.
Who's that one who talked there?
Daniel.
He went there. All right. So that is one. Extract. Right. Good. Good. Anybody else? Very good, Daniel. Anybody else have any other ideas? I wouldn't mix up the two. Ureter and urethra. Which one is which? All right. So, all right. Well, I guess that's the best one then. And since nobody else answered, we'll give him a second point for that, since nobody else. So that's the best one. Right? So
yeah, that's one good.
Yeah, good. I got 2 points for that. Yeah. So the urethra, think about it, extract. Right? So the urethra is the one that voids the bladder itself. And when we look at it diagrammatically, if we were to look in males, and we look more at this when we look at let me see. When you look at the kidneys, right? Very importantly, let me ask this question: with the male and the female, which one has a separate system? as a
female. We are so unique, you know, sir.
Yes, quite so. Than the male, right, in terms of the reproductive system, and we look more at this when we look at reproduction, which is coming up next week, right? Reproduction. But the male, correct, the reproductive, you have an overlap between the reproductive and the urinary system. But the females, as mentioned just now, females are unique in that regard, right? They have it separate. They have it very separate, right? So it's separate, a separate system, you know, two separate systems for reproduction and urinary system. Whereas with the male, you do have an overlap. And in particular, when you look at the male with the prostate, right, very important to take note of. Now, could you get cancer of the prostate?
Yes,
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and that's a big problem
Yes, sir.
for male, right? So one of the things they say when you hit 40, well, at 45, and now they're saying 40, always go to get digital rectal exam for the males. And so for the females as well, you know, do encourage your partner, your significant other, or your mate, right? You know, in terms of him going to get his digital rectal exam. And the digital have nothing to do with electronics, but has to do with the fact that the prostate is palpated through the anus, right? So usually the men will know they go to the little place while the doctor palpates it to see if there's any unusual growth, to feel for any unusual growth in the prostate itself. Now, if you were to, let me get an enlarged diagram. I mean, look more at this when we look at reproduction, but let's have a look at the prostate as it relates to the urethra. And one of the things we would notice with the prostate and the urethra, the prostate actually runs through the urethra. All right, so if you notice here, this is the prostate gland in the male, and the urethra runs through. So what would happen when the prostate becomes enlarged? So think about this like a donut. The prostate is like a donut, and the urethra running through the center of the prostate. So what happens when the prostate becomes enlarged? Well, as you can see here, it pushes in on the urethra, and therefore, you have a condition, the medical name eludes me now, something that is called stoppage of water. Anybody ever heard it? Heard it in terms of the term stoppage of water?
Yeah, no, the term stoppage of water.
Right, but there's a name for it, of course. But urinary retention, but there's another name for it. Anyhow, it's not very important. We have urinary retention. Now, is that problematic for a male?
Very.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Because as we mentioned, correct, the toxic, we mentioned that in terms of the toxic waste staying in your body. So think about it, the urine is remaining in the bladder. Normally, the bladder is voided, right? It holds about, on average, about 200 milliliters. It will be voided. But now this thing is staying there, and sometimes it could stay there on the order of days. So one of the things in particular, if you have, let's say, older parents or, you know, grandparents, and let's say you see them frequently and so on, particularly males, always check on them to ensure that, you know, this is not happening. Because sometimes, you know, they have a high tolerance for pain, and you're asking them how they're going, all right, but they're seeing something not quite right with them. You know, it could be that stoppage of water. I remember my father, he had the same issue, you know, when he was in his 70s. And same thing, you know, they grew up from a time where they didn't used to talk much. So the only reason how we figured it out was actually my mother, she saw blood in his underpants, right, when she was doing the washing, and that's how we knew something was wrong. And we had to take him to, well, of course, to the hospital. What they did, they inserted a catheter up his penis, right, to get through here because this is inflamed, right? So they insert the catheter up here, and then they inflate a balloon so it pushes against the walls of the urethra and opens the passage. I could only imagine what came out. You know, that's one thing I am sure you're aware as a medical practitioner, as a physician, in your field, right? If it's one thing the books don't give you is sniff and smell. Yeah? Sometimes you all wish you all had sniff and smell in your book. I don't know if you're all familiar with sniff and smell. That was back in the day. Some people might be aware with it, but it used to have like these books where they would have like, oh, here's a picture of a cherry, and when you scratch the picture and you smell it, they used to embed the smell into the picture.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about.
Right, and you get the smell of cherries. It's particularly children's books, sniff and smell. So I always think, that for some medical books that'll be interesting, because I am sure in your field you will get some rather interesting smells, yeah. But and you might be unprepared for it.
They don't always give up the degree that easy, sir.
What is that?
They don't always give up the degree that easy.
Oh.
So the ward that they have these prostate patients is horrible.
The which ward?
The ward in the hospital.
Which one?
With the patients, these prostate patients. Is
prostate. Oh, you mean the smells?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure particularly for those if having trouble voiding the bladder or who now get void. Ooh. Yeah, you can imagine urine in there for like say 3-4 days. You could just imagine, what coming out. You hear it as you have the bacteria and so on now multiplied and ooh la la. I can only imagine. I can only imagine the spells, with the prostate ward. Now, another thing as well to take note with the prostate, and this goes across the board, a little advice for you all. Prostatic cancer is the most misdiagnosed cancer out there. Right, is often confused with something known as BPH, benign prostatic hypertrophy, where the prostate swells or becomes enlarged like this, right? So, and is often misdiagnosed. So why I say that to say this. If it is somebody approaches you, and saying, I have cancer of the prostate or what have you not, let them get a second opinion, most critically, because of the fact it could be missed and is often misdiagnosed as prostatic cancer. And it's just an occasion where the prostate swells. They're not sure why it does it, right? But it's often misdiagnosed. So anytime you hear somebody have prostatic cancer,
Someone is going to join the class.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yeah, so it's often misdiagnosed, very frequently misdiagnosed. So just take note of that. Yes, somebody else have something they wanted to add?
Oh, it was just the same thing the person says, sir.
Oh, somebody wanted to come in. Right, yeah. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead. All right, so keep that in mind. All right. So the urinary system consists of all of the above, the kidneys, the ureter, and of course the urinary bladder itself. All right. Let's look at this one, 11. The kidneys lie above the membranous lining of the abdominal cavity. Is that true?
False. The kidneys are in the abdominal cavity.
Right,
Not
that's false. And in terms of their location, let's see if we could find it. One of the things with the kidney, it is located what is known as retroperitoneally. You'll hear the term retroperitoneal.
Yes.
In terms of their location.
Like behind the
correct is right. Correct is right. So let me see. All right, peritoneum. So it's located closer to your back than it is to the front. So when you look at even in this, the retroperitoneal space, here they remove, of course, your large and your small intestine, and you're looking at the kidneys. Kidneys is closer to the back than it is to the front. So what, for those of us who follow, we have any people here who follow MMA? Mixed martial art on TV or what have you not?
Yeah.
All right. So, well, before it had that, it used to have boxing, but boxing actually, MMA has overtaken boxing, right? In terms of popularity. Right? People don't watch boxing anymore, they like the MMA. So it's this shot here. In boxing, it used to have this punch. It's shown here. Oh, that's a liver shot, but this one here, they call it the infamous, as you see here, kidney punch. And it's actually in boxing, if ever you saw it, here it is, it's an illegal punch because it could do damage to your kidneys. And it's seen here, this person, bam, they're coughing more to the back area and it could damage the kidneys. So it's an illegal, if ever you're done in boxing, you get deducted a mark and you get warning, right? It's a kidney punch. And it's a very painful punch, but more so it could do damage to the kidneys and it's illegal. All right, so do remember, the shot in terms of the punch, the kidney punch, And for you to remember, where the kidney is located. It's located retroperitoneally in the back, closer to the back. All right. So that kidney punch, yeah, it could be fatal. So we really did, like as I said, it's an illegal blow. All right. So you don't want to be doing that or to be on the receiving end of it. All right. So the kidneys lie above, no, that's false. They lie to the back of the abdominal cavity. So this one is false. Who answered this one? Number 11.
I answer Shady.
Shady. Thank you, Shady.
Other people answer too.
Who else? Rabina.
Rishma.
Yes, now. Rishma, Rabina,
Selena.
Ravina, Selena.
Come on.
Where's Selena? I ain't seen Selena. Selena?
See.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm looking on the S. Thank you very much. Okay, Selena. Who else? Kamal. Who else?
Yeah.
Who else?
And Rock.
Miss Rock. Okay. Right. Okay, great. Right. So the kidney is very important there. What are the tubes that convey the urine from the kidneys to the bladder? And as our good friend, as our good friend Daniel reminded us, right? Extract and urethra both have RTHA in it. Well, THR, extract, TRA, right? And urethra, TRA, right? Extract, TRACT, EXTRACT, urethra. They have the RA in it. All right, so.
You know how I just remember it?
Go right ahead.
I just say urethra, enter the bladder.
Urethra, enter. That's another way as well. So whichever way, floats your boat. What name is it? What name? Ravina. There. Right? So urethra, enter. Or extract, urethra. Whichever one floats your boat. Hey, thanks for sharing that one with us. So the tubes that convey the urine from the kidneys to the bladder would be the ureters. From the kidney to the bladder, and the ureters are muscular tubes that convey the urine from the kidneys to the bladder by, how do they do it?
Peristalsis.
Yeah, or P, yes, they do, right? But, or P for peristalsis, or P as in urine, I wasn't sure. Peristalsis, right? So in terms of that movement, that wave-like action brought about by the smooth muscle contraction, right? Peristalsis, good. The urinary bladder can hold up to 600 milliliters of urine. That true?
Not true.
True.
That's true. I believe it can hold more than that.
Yeah, somebody never. Yeah, drink some hot beers. No, I'm not advocating the use of alcohol just as on a whim. But if ever you do, you'll realize, and if you, let's say you use a urinal and you measure it, you'll find that actually, yeah, you could drop almost half a liter of urine, which is 500 milliliters. So to answer your question, yes, it could hold up to 600. It could hold quite a bit. And why is that so? Let's see if we can have a look at the bladder itself. All right. So when we have a look at the bladder, it's distensible, which means it could stretch. Usually there's rugae there, folds, but it could stretch out, and hold quite a bit of urine. And as you see, up to 600 ml. So it is distensible, right? And it could hold up to 600 ml, right, of urine. Quite a lot. You didn't think about that, yeah. So that is true. There's a connection between the genital and urinary system in females. Well, we answer that question. Is there a connection? The answer is false. It's only in the males. In the males, you have a connection, but in the females, you don't. Right? And we look more at that when we look at reproduction. Females have a separate system, as somebody highlighted earlier on, because females are better than men. Don't worry, fellas. We're only saying that because there's only 4 of us here. We outnumbered 20 to 1. But it is true.
We both unique.
No, it is true. And in fact, you could argue it on the grounds of genetic material, right? If you were to look at the, when you're looking at the chromosomes, and we look at that when we next week, the X and Y chromosomes, right? Which one is a male and which one is a female? How is it go in terms of a chromosome? XX, XY, which one is male, which is female?
I think Y is male.
Y is male.
Y is male.
XY is male and XX is female? And
XX is female.
XX is female and XY is male. How I often remember it, just think of an X. If you cut off a piece of an X, you'll get a Y, not so?
Yes.
And that's how, going back to the original, what was said, yeah, females they're better than males. They have more genetic material. That is very true. If we were to look at those, let's have a quick look at those sex chromosomes. It is true. But please, women, don't make that argument in the heat of battle. Hey, you stupid! You know why you're stupid? Because you have less genetic material than me. You don't bring it up, when things are not going right. Let's see, X and we have to look at those chromosomes, the X and Y, right, in terms of gender. The 23rd pair, right? So this is an XY. This is just showing you here. So these are your 23 pairs, 22 autosomes, and your 1 pair of sex chromosomes, right, found in the nucleus of cell. Here you would see this is a Y. Sorry, this is an X chromosome. Over here is a Y. So it is true. Women, because of the fact they have 2 X's, they have more genetic material than men. It's a fact. So you'll be rightly placed to argue that genetically women are superior to men, and you'd be true. That'll be true. You'll just have more genetic. It's a fact. Women have more genetic material than men. Sorry. So good. So there is on that topic, right, in terms of XY. So do remember that. And only the urinary system, consisting of the kidneys, bladder, and ureters, ever holds urine.
True.
Yeah. Could you think of anything else that holds urine?
No.
A cup. That is true. Oh, let me rephrase the question then.
Anybody,
yes. No, I'm glad you raised that point. True. I should qualify the questions. That's very true, because a cup could hold it. You're quite right. Yeah. But sometimes anybody ever take a sweaty jersey and put it in a plastic bag and forget it in a drawer for like about 4 days and then open it? You should try it. Okay, take a sweaty jersey, right? You must try it. Like a jersey that you sweat a lot in. Let's say you work out or something. Put it in a plastic bag, knot it, and put it in a drawer and open it after about 4 days. You'll get a very high from the urea. You get a smell like ammonia, a strong smell. A very, very strong smell. Right? It really kick you. It's kick depending, it's kick very hard. But you get a very strong scent of ammonia. Right? And it just goes to show then that urea is actually passed out in your sweat as well. That's a crude way, a simplistic way of checking it out. Okay, let's go. 17. On the concave side of each kidney, there's a depression where what enters? Let's see what we're talking about.
All the above.
All of the above.
If we were to look, right? So there is this depression. Does the ureter enter? Yeah, so there's a depression here. Right, there's a convex, there's a concave. So there's depression, everything. Yeah, the ureter, the renal vein, in blue, renal artery. So therefore the answer is all of the above. Yeah. All right, so let me ask this question as well. It's a little off the topic. In terms of kidney transplants, do you know any celebrity who had a kidney transplant? In the field of basketball, in your area of basketball? Well, we come to that, but interesting to note, when they transplant a kidney, they don't take out your kidney. As you see here, they actually transplant the donor kidney distal to the original ones, but they don't take it out. Anybody wants to guess a reason why they don't take it out?
Because we don't want to trip a blood vessel.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's complicated. Remember, it have all that plumbing and wiring and nerves and all of that drama. You have no need the arteries and vein, but you have nerves. It's dramatic. That is just complicated, and things already complicated because you have diseased kidneys, so they leave them alone. So you see, they will transplant it at a site distal to the original ones. And two persons come to mind in terms of basketball. This guy, Alonzo Mourning, he used to play for the Heat, right? So this guy, and he was fortunate. He got one of his relatives to donate a kidney. His kidneys failed. So he had to get a kidney donation. And then there was another guy from the San Antonio Spurs kidney player. This Sean Elliott. Similarly, he got a kidney transplant as well. So it just goes to show, these people are athletes and so on, but they still sometimes, back to your genetic component, some people are just predisposed to having the disease. It's just the luck of the draw, right? And they had to have transplants later in their careers. Well, no, actually both of them were still playing when they had to have the transplant. Let's go again. The kidney consists of what? Question
All
number
of the
18.
above. That's so obvious.
All the above.
Right, the cortex, the medulla, and the pelvis. All right, let's have a look at that. So the cortex, how I remember the cortex, okay, not wanting to sound dyslexic, but it looks like a C, or a wrong-sided C. Yeah? Okay, I know C normally comes this way, but okay, so if you look at the other kidney, let's look at this one for our left kidney. That would make more sense. Right, so this will be the cortex on the outside. C for cortex, yeah? So it consists of all of those, the cortex and all of the other given parts. So all of the above would be for the kidney. The cortex contains cone-shaped tissue masses called the pyramids. Is that true or false?
Medulla.
The medulla, very good, all right. All right, so let me take my last set of, who answered correct now?
Diana, actually.
Diana, good. Anybody else?
Shady.
Reshma.
Shady? Reshma?
Stephanie.
Stephanie? Anybody else? Rabina. Ravina, good. You're chalking them up, Ravina, good. Very good. All right. So very importantly there, right, the renal cortex contains, it is not the renal cortex, but the medulla. So if we were to pop back to our good friend the kidney, we'll see this is the medulla. So the cortex is the outer part, but the medulla is within here, and we have these pyramids, renal pyramids located in the medulla. Okay, very good. All right, we'll do a couple more. What is the functional unit of a kidney called? No, I just ask any question. The functional unit of the kidney is known as the nephron. Yeah. Don't hesitate. Yes. Anytime you hear that, just like how when you hear bread is butter, right?
We do that last
semester. We do it last semester as well, yeah. So the functional unit of the, as soon as you hear that, nephron, yes. That is very true. The nephron is a function, and you have these repeated over and over and over and over in the kidney. Why? So because they all do the same thing, right? But most critically, the reason why you have them doing the same thing, because of the fact, if something goes wrong, right, you could have another one picking up the function. And that is, you'll see this term coming up, is known as redundancy. Redundancy. It's not good for PR in terms of from HR, from a human, when you're looking at job dynamics, to have all the people doing the same thing, it's good to have specialists. But for the body, very good, because of the fact if something becomes disease or otherwise, you could just have another immediately. It could just shift another part and it's not a problem, right? So this is the functional unit, the nephron. So if there's one takeaway out of everything, from the time you hear kidney, the first thing that should come to mind is nephrons, 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 nephrons. They do all the business. The business of the kidney is done by the nephron. All right, nephrons are sometimes called what? What are they sometimes called?
Kidney tubules.
Right, the kidney tubules, right? They're sometimes called that because that's part of their structure, right? In terms of a tube. And as you could see, they have this structure here. This is where you have pressure filtration occurring. So here you have the afferent and the efferent. Which one brings the blood to the Bowman? Well, this is the Bowman's capsule or the glomerular capsule. Which one brings the blood to it? Is it the afferent or the efferent?
The afferent.
Yeah, the afferent actually brings in this one. This one upside down. Yes, the afferent brings it, and the efferent carries it away. How could we remember that? How would we remember that?
Efferent exit.
There you go. I like that. Efferent exit. Okay, who said that one?
Diana Archibald.
Diana, very good. Diana Archibald. Good. Ooh, you're clocking them up, Diana. Yes. So, right, the Nephron exit, that is one way, right, to remember it. So to recall that. But the afferent brings it. So the blood comes in. You have all of these convoluted tubules. They get narrow, so the pressure builds up. So the way the kidney works is by pressure filtration. So all the waste products are filtered out, is collected in the glomerular Bowman's capsule, and then passes along the proximal, then distal, loop of Henle, distal collecting duct, urine, right? So very importantly to take note, afferent, then the efferent takes it away. And you do have, depending on the situation, you can have reabsorption of ions along the length of the duct associated with the nephron. Good. All right, three more. That was good. Urine formation consists of what?
All of the above.
We kind of see in a trend, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you have filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. So all of these things, very, very true. Right? Good. Let's go again. Let's look at 36. I like this one. Drinking alcohol causes diuresis, or the urge to urine, because it inhibits the secretion of what?
ADH.
ADH. All right. Who said that one?
A couple of us respond one.
Okay, couple.
Yeah, everybody.
Okay.
Diana.
I didn't get a click on mute in time.
Yes. Quite so. I must give my time thing. What does ADH stand for? The letters ADH. What does it stand for?
Anti-diuretic hormone.
Yeah. So it's a nice way to remember. So since a diuretic makes you want to urinate, what does the anti-diuretic hormone? If that is secreted, would you urinate more or urinate less?
Less.
Yes.
Because it inhibits.
Very good. So always remember that when ADH is secreted, it's an anti-diuretic, not to be confused with uncle diuretic. Okay, you all didn't see that one. Okay, and you're all tired and you all want to.
I saw it, sir.
All right, fair enough. So anti-diuretic hormone, ADH, it does the opposite of what the diuretic. So since a diuretic makes you want to urinate, the secretion or the presence of the anti-diuretic hormone in the vicinity of the kidney, within the kidney itself, causes retention of water. So therefore, the urine would be less. So it'll be more concentrated, and therefore it will be dark in color. All right, so do take note of that. And sometimes as well, notwithstanding that, when you do see your urine is dark, that could be an indicator that you need to drink water. All right, so do keep that in mind. But this one, indeed, this will be ADH, anti-diuretic hormone. Good. All right, two more. Let's throw this one out there. Infection of the bladder. What is that called when your bladder is infected?
C.
C.
Diesel.
Yeah. It's called cystitis, interestingly enough, right? Cystitis. Let's see if we could check the origin of the word. Right? So cystitis is inflammation of the bladder. The part becomes irritated. The cause is a urinary tract infection, right? Urinary tract infections. So who would be more susceptible, or where, if you were to look up the incidence of cystitis, who do you think will have it more, males or females?
Female.
Females.
Why? Why would you say that?
I ain't got an answer.
Anyone? No, it's true. Yeah, the incidence probably will be higher. And why? Why? Or in other words, why is it less in males? A very simple reason.
They have
a longer
urethra.
Like I was hesitating to say penis, which is true. There is a correlation between the two. But the urethra, urethra, because of the fact, the penis, so it's more distal. So in terms of the risk of infection is less, but females, because of the short nature of two things, the short nature of the urethra, and of course the proximity to the vaginal orifice or opening there, that as well is a source for infection, which is why the vagina itself is acidic, and which is why, when we look at this in reproduction, it's very important that during that they ejaculate from the male itself does have neutralizing substances in it, or else literally the sperm will be cooked. It wouldn't himself get, to the point where it travels up to the fallopian tube, but the acidic environment will kill the sperm. So that is why you need to have the secretion from the Cowper's gland, bulbourethral, and prostate. They have secretions which cause the neutralization of that acidic environment of the vagina. And that is very important, or else all of they will be cooked and they will die. They wouldn't even reach up to the fallopian tube, the neck of the fallopian tube, for fertilization to occur. So that's a good point there. Good. So cystitis, you remember that? How would we remember that? Could we associate bladder with cystitis? Cystitis, sorry, not cystitis, cystitis. Anybody could see how we could remember that? Bladder and cyst. Bladder and cyst.
So B before C?
Pardon?
B comes before C?
B comes before A. Yeah, whatever floats your boat. B comes before C. Nice way to remember it. Good. All right, one more. One more. Last one. The accumulation of waste substances in the blood, what is that called?
So uremia.
Uremia, right? Uremia. Right, so that'll be the last one we're looking at today. Uremia. Right, so uremia is a condition of having high levels of urea in the blood, right? Right, so uremia, particularly urea, the accumulation of that in the blood, that is thing. Okay, one more. Modern hemodialysis involves what?
D.
Methods to allow regular hookup. Anybody here has ever seen dialysis or witnessed the process, or have any relatives who have it?
No.
Anything like that? Or have seen the process? What do they do?
It's kind of hook up to a machine and like on one, I don't know how to explain it. It is
okay. They hook it up to the machine.
The blood filter through the machine.
So in other words, the machine actually
it acts like a nephron.
It takes the place. So it takes the place. It takes the function of the kidney. So the kidneys are non-functional. So therefore, it does the process of filtering the blood itself. How long does it take? With dialysis, usually
3 to 4 hours.
3 to 4 hours, right?
Like about 3 times a week.
3 times a week and 3 to 4 hours each time, right? So do keep that in mind in terms of dialysis where that is concerned. All right, good. Okay, so we'll stop here for today. Let me just stop the recording.